There's a comforting but almost hollow feeling I get when I haven't spent a day alone in weeks or maybe even months. I realized my independence had gone on pause when my boyfriend, who I had been around practically every day for the previous 2.5 months, went back home. It was a really strange feeling. I physically felt his absence. The melancholy I had in that moment represented a level of dependence I had never experienced before. I imagine this is a similar feeling to no longer being followed around by a camera crew for a reality TV show. There's no theatricality or purpose behind what you do anymore, and there's no one left to impress or please. Just you, your thoughts, and decisions that mostly go unnoticed. So in this video, I'm going to work on my independence. I browsed the internet to try to find a few different steps I could take, and they were all pretty obvious or vague. Spend time alone, seek therapy, develop self-reliance and confidence, etc. Now, I had a different idea of what working on my independence might be. Doing something alone that you'd normally do with others, like going to dinner. But I also wanted to try to get some more specific advice. So here's my plan. I'm going to ask for some guidance from some complete strangers who probably have it more figured out than I do, and then I'm going to do whatever they suggest. Here are my questions. What makes you feel like yourself? What do you do when you feel like you're becoming dependent on someone? What are some activities people normally do with others that could be fulfilling to do alone?
Sometimes even going to the movies, shopping, or just taking a break from everybody else and be by myself. I don't mind that.
What makes me feel independent? What makes me feel independent is when I just listen to my inner voice and I do not take into consideration what anybody else is like influencing me on. I try to tune the world out. I close my eyes. The best way to do it is maybe by meditating, taking a hike, relaxing on the beach. I think taking the risk to do things on your own that you might usually do with other people to see how that experience feels, I think can really bring on independence.
I'm on a hike by myself. This is really gonna force me to reflect on things. These small experiences have been surprisingly monumental for me. I didn't think that something so simple as going to dinner or the movies alone would really affect me, but they left an unexpected impact on me. Towards the beginning of the movie, I couldn't stop thinking about what someone else would think of it and whether they'd think it was lame, which was influencing how I was perceiving it. As it went on, my thoughts started to become my own and became solidified without outside influence. By the end of the movie, which I cried during, I felt that I had had an opinion that was purely my own, which felt strangely empowering. It wasn't one that I shared with anyone to make sure was valid, but one that was just mine. Going to dinner, on the other hand, was pretty uneventful. It basically just consisted of eavesdropping on the conversation of the people next to me, reading and eating. It was nice to just people watch, and I had none of the embarrassment that I used to feel of people seeing me sitting alone. Today, I went on a hike alone, which is what one of the women I interviewed suggested for me. I didn't bring my AirPods, so it was a quiet walk alone, but it did force me to reflect on things. Being alone in nature made me feel very in tune with myself. During the hike, I realized I needed to get into more everyday things I can do to further establish my independence. At sunset, I went to the beach, and it was the most whole I've felt throughout this entire process. Swimming in the ocean, seeing dolphins, and watching the sun go down made me realize that life can still be beautiful when there's no one else to share it with. That's extremely hard to remember when you're dependent on someone. The world feels like it'll end if you lose this one person or these 5 people, but it won't. I'm realizing now that I'd be okay if the people closest to me left me. I can do things alone and still be fulfilled. Today was a really stressful and draining day for me, so I realistically didn't have much time to partake in a bunch of things to work on my independence. This is going to be the case a lot of the time where I'm going to be too busy or the day just doesn't go my way. However, I've found there are some things I already do naturally that maintain my independence. About 4 or 5 days a week, I go to the gym. Taking the time to make my body stronger every day keeps my priorities mentally in check. Actually reflecting on how important going to the gym is for me has made me appreciate it as an important aspect of my self-reliance. It's something I can do for about an hour a day that is purely for my own benefit, which is something I've found is crucial for your independence. Another thing I do almost daily is watching movies and TV shows by myself. Although this can be a mindless task, it still furthers my own opinions and cultivates my interests just as watching a movie alone at the theater did. Finding TV shows or movies that spark my interest is surprisingly liberating because it's not an activity I do to serve someone else, and it's also building upon my identity. For such a long time, I really struggled with favorite things. Someone would ask me my favorite movie or song, and it would trigger a twinge of self-loathing and aimlessness because I didn't know who I was. I mean, I still don't, but taking the time to do things that incrementally allow me to figure it out helps tremendously. To be completely honest, reflecting on these activities as ones that further my sense of self feels ridiculous, but I think it's crucial for me to find everyday things to really keep the momentum of this trait I'm trying to readopt. The last thing I did was meditate, which was another thing that one of the women I talked to says she does. I've practiced meditation before, but never to accomplish a certain mental goal. I felt a sense of calm in my body, but also slight mental panic. I've been having this overwhelming existential anxiety recently that meditation doesn't exactly absolve. Afterwards, I experienced more disassociation and derealization than before. I opened my eyes to feeling less in my body. I'm disappointed because I was excited to use meditation to further my reflection, but it just made my anxiety worse. I thought I might have some epiphanies or crazy realizations to share, but I don't. I'm going to continue to do it, though, to see if it starts to help at all. Today for me was all about just applying my newfound independence to a somewhat mundane day. I went for a walk in the rain, which I was very excited for because it rarely rains, so it feels like the day is special when it happens. I used to go on walks and take pictures of everything and anything that caught my eye, and I realized I missed doing that. It was another thing that I did that was purely for my own enjoyment, that relies on nobody but me. As someone that struggles with depression from time to time, it's so important for me to find beauty in small things and to make everyday life feel less monotonous and gray. Finding these small pops of color can really improve my mood and quality of life. So I took videos of everything that looked interesting to me. While on this walk, I was also listening to the music I had on rotation when I felt more like myself, and I think it really grounded me. Music is a huge indicator of different phases I'm going through in my life, as it is for most people. It's also a time capsule of sorts. Listening to a specific song that I was obsessed with however long ago drags me back to that time, so I'm feeling what I felt so vividly. So with that logic, songs I loved when I was really independent brought me back to that headspace, which is obviously very beneficial. I went to the gym a couple hours after, which I've already talked about the effects of, but the drive home at night in the rain was really beautiful. Moments like these, the small pops of color, accompanied by more music that I used to love, created a very special moment for me. One that marked some real progress in this experience. I found myself in a genuine state of bliss while being alone. I truly was enjoying my own company, and I felt the well of my internal contentment starting to return. And I'm hoping it'll stay for a while. It's been a couple weeks of me really trying to get back to myself and be fulfilled with my own company, and I think I'm ready to apply it to my life outside this video. With independence, the whole point is that you're serving yourself. And right now, I'm partially forcing my feelings of independence for the performance of this video. In order to have an authentic feeling of independence, I have to work on it purely for my own benefit. I woke up today feeling tired about putting how I feel on display. I think that's a huge step in the right direction for me. I'm starting to reject the idea of living my life for other people. I'm excited to see what other areas of my life this rejection will benefit. I feel proud of how far I've come, and I'm gonna wallow a while in my small victory of feeling like myself again.